Federal government asks courts to revoke bail granted leader of the indigenous people of Biafra and order his detention pending the trial of IPOB leader. President Buhari reaffirms faith in Nigeria's democracy and unity as he meets with leaders of the ruling APC and the main opposition PDP, as well as state governors in Abuja. Former President Obasanjo distances himself from call for a restructuring of Nigeria, asks Nigerians to focus on building a nation. And at least 23 people killed in violent protests over the rape conviction of a popular religious leader in the north of India.
On business news tonight, National Insurance Commission partners with Nigerian Stock Exchange to strengthen the insurance sector.
On sports news, Nigeria's The Tigers thrashed West African neighbors Cote d'Ivoire 98-43 points to reach the semi-final of the 2017 FIBA Women's Afrobasket in Mali.
And from Abuja, Chief of Defense Staff challenges newly inducted military officers to brace up for the challenge for the defense of Nigeria's sovereignty.
We begin tonight with the motion filed by the federal government seeking the revocation of bail granted the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Kanu. The motion is asking the courts to issue an arrest warrant on Mr. Kanu and detain him pending the determination of the charges against him. The federal government is accusing the IPOB leader of flouting his bail conditions, which prohibits him from being seen in a crowd exceeding 10 people. He is not expected to grant any interviews, hold or attend any rallies. He is also expected to provide the court updates of his health status every month. The federal government is accusing Mr. Kanu of inaugurating the Biafra Security Service, an action considered a grave threat to national security and unity of the country. He's facing trial before a federal high court in Abuja for alleged treason. He was granted bail in April on health grounds, but his co-accused were not granted bail. Now, the demand for the arrest of the IPOB leader by the federal government and the suspension of the quit notice by the Arawa youths is perceived as a fallout of President Muhammadu Buhari's state broadcast on Monday, where he reiterated that the unity of the country is not negotiable. There are, however, indications that in the weeks to come, the federal government might be taking more tough decisions, especially after the meeting with service chiefs to maintain the country's unity.
Nigerians' unity is settled and not negotiable.
President Muhammadu Buhari's pronouncements may appear frail, but it's weighty and presidential in all its ramifications.
We shall not allow irresponsible elements to start trouble, and when things get bad, they run away and settle others with the responsibility of bringing back order.
The broadcast is already making many positives and generating ripples, not only from those affected directly or indirectly, but from persons who sat on the fence waiting and watching to see how it would play out.
It goes to reconfirm that the president is in charge, when he assured us that anybody, even any part of this country, is safe, is free to live where you want to live.
3 days after the broadcast and the signal sent, the indigenous people of Biafra was the first group to come public in what seemed like a reaction to the broadcast. The group withdrew its earlier threats to stop the conduct of the Anambra elections and clarified its objectives, claiming to be a non-violent group, but one that is committed to the welfare of the Igbo people.
We will never, ever resort to armed violence or armed conflict of any sort.
And then on Thursday, a group of northern youths that issued an eviction notice to Igbos living in the north suspended the threats, and they are now singing a new song. But some persons are not sure about the sincerity of the suspension order.
The quit notice in the first place was improper. And how do you define a northerner? I was born in the north. I grew up in the north. I went to school in the north. And all my life I lived in the north before I went to England, and then from there I came back after the war, only to find that I don't belong to the north anymore. So the question about Nigeria is this, that we have got this type of division into ethnic groupings. The Arewa boys, who gave this, were just acting out a script that has been transmitted to them from generation. So I don't think that the question of saying that there has been a reversal is correct. It's just merely a suspension.
One statement that continues to resonate from everyone is Nigeria's unity. Indeed, the president may have sent a strong signal. It's also a wake-up call to right the wrongs already created by these groups, or they face the consequences as long as the country's unity is not compromised.
To keep Nigeria one is a task that must be done. Muhammadu Buhari, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, has made it clear the unity of Nigeria is settled. It's not negotiable.
And the country's unity is what they all want to talk about. But some other groups, predominantly from the south, would rather ask for restructuring of the country's democracy. And now that the federal government has ordered the rearrest of the IPOB leader, Nnamdi Kanu, the story might just change or another chapter reopen. Whichever way the pendulum swings, what the common man on the street is expecting from the country's leaders is true leadership, improved economy, better security, and good livelihood, as against political and personal interests.
In the meantime, the president says democracies all over the world need opposition that's vibrant and responsible. President Muhammadu Buhari was speaking at a meeting with the leadership of the All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party in Abuja. He explains that in a multi-party democracy, opposition does not mean hostility, enmity, or antagonism.
It's a meeting attended by members of the main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, and the ruling All Progressive Congress at the presidential villa. Nigerians may have expected the leaders to discuss socio-political issues like restructuring, but that did not come up in the opening of the meeting. Instead, the leaders promised to cooperate with the president for national development and growth.
I want to reiterate our offer and assurances of the PDP's cooperation with the government on any program sincerely and holistically designed to take Nigeria to higher levels. We identify with and will continue to support the fight against terrorism as well as other crimes that have sneaked into our consciousness, like kidnapping, banditry, as well as the farmers and husband clashes and other crimes camouflage in different forms.
Irrespective of political labels, irrespective of religious labels, irrespective of ethnic labels, and irrespective of the kind of invectives sometimes crossing the line of decency that have taken place in the last few months of your absence. I thank you, Mr. President, and it is my hope that this gentle, well-thought-out message will permeate the entire polity.
President Buhari commended the opposition for the role they played during his medical vacation and urged them to rally Nigerians for national unity.
This visit signifies the unity of Nigeria. It is not a party occasion. It is not a political gathering. It is a symbol of our national unity. It is also an expression of the maturity of our democracy. Multi-party democracy is a very tried and tested form of government. Opposition does not mean hostility, enmity, or antagonism. Democracy needs opposition, one which is vibrant but responsible.
The leaders of the parties departed the meeting with a promise to join hands to address the challenges confronting the nation.
The president also met with governors today at the State House in Abuja, and top of their agenda was the nation's economy. President Buhari did not hide the fact that there is a need to revive the economy, but he was also quick to point out that the devaluation of the naira is not something that his administration can change. President Buhari also told the governors that his government is doing everything possible to increase the patronage of made-in-Nigeria goods.
President Buhari exchanging pleasantries with governors during the solidarity visit to him after his medical vacation in London.
How are you?
Hi. Governor Abdulaziz Yari of Zamfara State, who is the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum, led the governors to the meeting with the president. They restate their commitment to assisting him in delivering good governance to the nation.
When we came into this leadership, there are so many outstanding salaries that has not been paid, some 27 months, some 18 months, some 10 months, some 4 months, respectively. But you bail us out, you structured our dates. All that not enough, we come with the debt that is long outstanding. London Paris Club, you also had to order our call.
Irrespective of anybody's views, anybody can be sick, and there is nobody, even amongst us here, that is 100% well. And so we want to assure you, sir, that the unity of the country, which we are very committed to, we have passion for, is the same passion, sir, and we are committed to the same. And we will continue to back you in every step you take towards the oneness and welfare of this country.
After thanking the governors and Nigerians for their prayers for his recovery, President Buhari expresses the commitment of his government to remain focused on economic diversification through agriculture and solid minerals.
This devaluation of the naira is not our own making, but trading and Nigeria being the center for generations. It may not favor us for a year or two, but it's something that we cannot change. Because people were asking me whether we should be stricter on the borders and so on. I said we should be strict for imported food so that our farmers can be even more encouraged. And we thank God, last year and this year, the harvest throughout the country is much better than it used to be.
The governors commend the president for the support he has given state governments through the Paris Club refunds and the assistance to boost agriculture in their states.
Continue to give you the health leadership of this country. Thank you.
In part 2, after the break, we bring you an update on the recent deaths recorded in 3 communities of Yagba West local government area of Kogi State attributed to a strange illness. That's in a moment. Do stay with us.